the actors are charging such a huge amount, and they travel with, with cooks and people who massage and lots of people. Maybe a companion also who talks to them. I'm not sure. Shatrughan Sinha was known for being late. At his own wedding, he was late. Working in films when I joined films was deeply frowned upon. They couldn't work me out, let's put it that way, so I was perhaps a bad girl.
Did he ever ghost you?
First question I wanted to ask you, one, what was it like with working with Dr. Agashe? And what drew you to the film? And what drew you to doing Outhouse at this point? Because it's rare for us to see protagonists of a certain age. You know, they say we are a very, as even the trailer started with, your geared violence, of course, but towards the young, the young, the young. So why Outhouse, and what was it like, the experience, first of all?
Well, I heard the script first. I absolutely love the script because it's a very simple story, absolutely simple, and it's there is no dramatic moments as such, but it's a very real life thing, like how my grandson is kept, the parents are busy, so she's going for a conference and the father is going somewhere else. So they leave the son. And I have no idea. I'm eagerly waiting for my grandson to come. But then I didn't know that there was a dog involved. So when I see the dog, I'm absolutely outraged. I don't want a dog in the house. I said, please take him away. And it's too late. They have a plane to catch and they're in a rush, and they're always in a rush, that generation. So they leave, and anyway, I don't want it in the house. So I keep them outside, keep the dog outside, and give him reluctantly some water or something to eat. Dog-friendly food. And then I go in. And the next morning, the dog is missing. And the dog has followed Mohan Agashe, the character that he plays. He's walking on the road, and the dog follows him and ends up with him. And meanwhile, my grandson has gone wild. And he says, where is the dog? And I want Pablo. And, he's absolutely, and I keep telling him that, okay, I put it on a WhatsApp group, we'll try, we are looking for it. But he's inconsolable. And there he doesn't know how to look after the dog and how to feed it, how to deal with his poops and, all that. So that's how the story develops. And it's and just finding the dog and how we steal it back from him, and then how he comes to look for it, etc. So it's just that, but there are beautiful moments, and the child and the little tension, the marital tension between my son and my son-in-law. So all these things are happening simultaneously in this man who's living alone, and a very grumpy old man, who's always saying things, and then how his son comes to him. So it's basically about I, who's living alone, and yet not really lonely and very self-reliant. And he is also, in his own way, very self-reliant, and we come from very different class, completely. And his son is wanting to sell the house, and because he wants his son to go abroad for education. So all that tussle, but yet the love for the children, and he tells him that, why do you guys treat me as a child? The tendency of the young towards the old is like to say that, you don't know what you're doing, and look after yourself, and, that kind of thing, a bit like treating them as a child. And then he wants him to move to Bombay with him, and he says, no, I'm very happy where I am. I've got my own life. And I also say that I've got my own life. I'm very self-reliant. I don't really want to live with my children. So basically, it's about that.
So this, what you just touched on, this, as one ages and as it need not be loneliness, but it can be solitude if you're good about it. But from even your personal life, how do you see, but even for the characters, there's angst in Opu from Opu Shankshar, but there is also the loneliness or the dealing with that. How do you see dealing with being alone from when you were playing younger characters or in films with younger characters to now?
Even when you mentioned Opu, that was also very interesting. Opu Shamshar, I don't know how many of you have seen it. That was my first film in 1959, many, many moons and years ago. So that was also very, it was not in the book. It's a very famous book of Vibhuti Babu. So this was what Shotajit Rai put in, because there was child marriages in the sense that young girls at the age of 13 was getting married. But the concept of living with your husband, either you lived on in your parental home or you went to your in-laws' place. But a nuclear family, just husband and wife living alone, was unheard of. So that was Ray's contribution. So that was my first film.
That, there is the loneliness of someone, character in Opu Shankshar, or being alone and dealing with the world just changing, and then there is changing as an aging character now, or dealing with children.
No, I don't think I was lonely in Opu Shankshar.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Because I had 1,001 things to do. As
Yeah.
a child, at 13, she was, preparing the oven and making ends meet with no money at all, and dealing with neighbors. So there was everybody, all women, young and old, young or old, have lots to do at home. Their work is completely, goes on and on and on, unending really, because a man goes to work and he just that work and comes back, and a little bit of dealing with bosses, etc. But women are responsible for everything, from the drain to the air conditioners to, not air conditioners, but fans or whatever. So they're answerable and they have to manage with what they have, which is, I don't know how they do it. I know of people who make different packets for, electricity, water, etc. So I think they're, it's a different set of skills that you need. So I don't think she was lonely. And most certainly my character in Outhouse is not lonely, because I have wonderful work as a cartoonist, and I'm doing that. And I'm very happy with my house and my little bit of garden and whatever else. And so I don't think loneliness came into either's life.
Like your character in Outhouse, but also you in real life. And by the way, ma'am gave us a great interview in the Indian Express with my colleague Anuradha Mascarenas. I just want you to talk for 1 minute about that how 80 can be the new 60, how you've managed it, and how, I know the younger lot in the audience, it seems all very far away, but it comes quicker than you think.
I've never really consciously thought, I'd never really consciously counted that I'm, 15 or 20 or 30 or 40. I think when I was 30, I was a little, oh my God, I'm 30. Yes, I think at that time I was a little conscious of, I looked at the mirror and sort of, if there is any huge changes from one day to another. But otherwise, I take one day at a time. And of course, I can't run after Inaya. Now I've got a little dog, Archie. And most certainly I can't run after him. It's like having a baby at 80, it's impossible. And he wants me to play with him, and I can't do that really. And things change. You don't have the same energy. But I don't think there is any huge difference, except, like I said, you're losing your muscles, so you have to make sure that you don't. I think exercise and muscle toning and all that is important. So you have to take a little bit of more care of yourself. But other than that, the books give you pleasure. I take inspiration for everything. I love nature. I mean, in Delhi, it's a bit difficult. Sometimes you don't see the sun for days in Delhi in the winter. But once upon a time, it was really blue sky, and we used to sit out and have uh, tea with surrounded with seasonal flowers, and it was quite different not so long ago. But yes, but I think of late the sky has cleared up and it's looking much better, and sometimes we glimpse blue sky. So it's a challenge for the state and for all of us to keep our city clean, which we are doing. But I get inspired with so many things. Like there are people. I once went to Khajuraho. I remember from Bhopal. We drove, and there was a couple of my friends had come from England, and she was very interested. And he was reading a book all the way to Khajuraho and back. I said, but don't you want to look out of the window and see this? I mean, Khajuraho Road is not as interesting, perhaps, but in Delhi or Kolkata, it's a living theater out there. Like when I used to, I did a film with Amul Palekar called Samantar. So I used to leave my house in Kolkata and go to Bali, quite a distance, living early in the morning. And on either side, people were still waking up. And somebody even had a charpai with a mosquito net sitting out, sleeping outside. And then children crossing the road and somebody making them cross the road. And then there was coming back, we could see that there's a light hanging from somewhere, and there's a table and 4 people playing carom. There's so many things out there to see. And once I saw a boy was being naughty and he was being slapped. Somebody's bathing, in the tube. So there are a lot of things that are going on all around us. And if we just have to open our eyes and absorb that and experience it. And when you really cannot respond to your surroundings, I think that's the time you begin to perhaps get old, if there's such a word is there. The idea is to get along and observe and see people and have lots of young friends, because they have so much to say, and it's interesting. Sometimes when we are talking about, there's somebody told us that how conversation changes. When you're young, young girls, they're talking about boys and, who's that interesting guy, and has he called you or has he written to you or whatever. There's about boys. Then you get married, then you have these marital problems you discuss with each other. Then you have children, then you're talking about maids, which is a good maid and where do you find a good maid, and my maid has left, and that's the conversation. Then it becomes aches and pains. Today is my knees hurting and my back is hurting, and teeth. Yes, that's how it happened, because we had gone to one of my mother-in-law's friends and they were talking about dentures, that how the dentures fit and not fit, and if it's loose and you cannot eat. So that was the conversation. So I said, over the years, and a friend of mine made a lovely little movie about this. And what not to talk about is your aches and pains. Nobody is interested. So the idea is to listen to people, because a lot of people just talk at each other, And I've seen really at parties, you ask a question of somebody, before that person has had an answer, you've answered it yourself and you've carried on talking, you haven't even heard. And actually there are experts who know about it, but I'm giving the expert, like talking to Amjad and talking about music, that kind of thing. That reminds me, isn't it so sad about Zakir Hussain? Haven't we lost a great, great person? And it was such fun to hear him, the kind of sound he brought out of, I'm really, really sorry that I feel that during Shakti, that was the last time. I'm glad we went and saw him. And that was the last time I met him. So, yeah.
That is a terrible loss, ma'am. No, I wanted to also, a film like Outhouse, and then even in a very different way, it's a very different film, but let's call it, if nothing else, character, script-driven film like Gulmohar, which released on OTT, which received great kudos, justifiably so, from everywhere. There's two things. One, there is a sense now that across film industries, but Indian film industries, but certainly the Hindi film industry, the making of story-driven stuff is moving to the platforms. It is now laptop viewing or at-home viewing, whereas the theater is no longer the space where great films or even interesting slice-of-life films, the smaller character-driven, person-driven, writer-driven film, can be made or seen. I just wanted to get your sense of that.
You know, as you said, now we are surrounded by screens of different sizes. You can see a film in your cell phone, there is so much happening, and then you've got a bigger screen, and then you've got these bigger screen. But the pleasure of watching a film in a theater, in a cinema hall, with lots of other people, is a different, you know, that those, what do you call them, those, what's the word, actual word, one screen, single screen theater. That was a different experience, you know, not like leaning back and popcorn and all that, but it was just the sheer viewing with so many different kinds of people. You know, there was those people who sat and then you were on the dress circle. So it was and then when at exactly the same place people reacted. So one realized that how a film can bring people together, you know, at exactly the same place, everywhere in the country. People get bored at the same place, people laugh at the same place, and how commonalities far exceed our differences, and how even uh, the the social status, etc., is not a bar, and it's a wonderful experience, and that multiplexes have robbed us from that experience, and now people go, and it's a different thing. You don't really respond the way a film needs to be responded to, you know.
Yeah, but but it's also we see, I mean, I'll play devil's advocate for a bit, but that um, the theater, the distance between the theater hit and the non-theater, so, I mean, say what used to be parallel cinema or cinema and mainstream cinema,
That's disappearing.
is it disappearing, or is it that the spectacle is still a big screen? You have, especially films from the South, or now what we would call that
Kalki.
sensibility in different languages. There's big action or big, just larger than life is for the big screen. But it is not, it is especially in Hindi cinema, one would say, because people are saying from the South, especially, there's some small, interesting films emerging, that there is, I mean, there are no internationally great Indian filmmakers. Payal Kapadia's film is done very well right now. But like Shotajit, right, there's that generations after that, say from the 80s, maybe 90s onwards, that have we focused on the commercial side of cinema so much, and at the expense of the artistic side, and maybe that's brought down both?
I firmly believe that after 90s, when the films opened up, really, because we started seeing world cinema to some extent. Still, we don't see world cinema, but we saw American cinemas and other cinemas that came to us. So, and even through television, a lot of cinemas came to us. So the audience grew up, so to speak. They were more matured, and there was a lot of churning. They were better prepared to accept new plots, new angles, and more open. Like in Gulmohar, the last scene of my, winking. At once upon a time, probably it wouldn't have been accepted. But it was accepted, and people also liked it. I was quite worried that, I've got an image, and people might just laugh or might say that, this is not right for her stature to. But none of that happened. So I think we've moved on, the audience have moved on, and they have more appetite for different kind of films. And OTT has normalized a lot of things. And so But then again, that's the screen and the screen. And what you're saying about these big budget films, it is becoming a little top heavy, and I am personally quite concerned that the actors are charging such a huge amount. It is not really, and they travel with with cooks and people who massage and lots of people, maybe a companion also who talks to them, I'm not sure. But they do really, and they I did something, an ad film or something, so person who does my uh, makeup and my hair, he was saying, now there is a competition how big your trailer is. So earlier
Vanity
it was
van,
just a vanity. So you have the essential purpose of that is that we have a little privacy. It's air conditioned, and you have a mirror, and you dress up, and it's a long mirror if you're wearing a sari or how you look. Like I'm worried about how far my trousers are riding. So anyway, so you see yourself. But now you have one room, then another room for meeting, and another room perhaps for resting, and that's kind of a criteria like how important you are, etc. So it's moving away from the real thing, which is performing, which is in front of the camera. From what is essential is from start sound to cut. That's what is being recorded, and that's going for post-production, and that is what it's all about. So, so all these other factors of who is who, and there's number one, number two. So all that is unnecessary, I feel. Of course, making money, that's very good. And why are you making money? Because you're popular, people are coming to see your films. But for the actor to be so conscious about who you are, I think is moving away from reality. And if you're moving away, how do you depict real people? How do you understand how humor is changing, or how like Charlie Chaplin, like a guy walking into a, say, funeral. It's a very somber affair. And he trips and falls, and everybody starts laughing. It's the timing. So all those things are more important than what shoes you're wearing or what. But that seems to have become very important for actors. And when we were receiving awards, for instance, when I got the Best Actress award for Aradhna, Nargis ji, Wahida ji, everyone came. Everyone came and sat, and Kishore Kumar sang on the stage. So it was a kind of a film fraternity celebration, not Sharmila Tagore celebration. So everybody participated. Now you have a show, then some people will come much later. So suppose you're sitting on the first row, another row of chairs would be put, so then A-listers will come. And nobody talks to anybody. Like you don't go up and say, hi, how are you? And I haven't seen you for so long, and well done, you got this award. Everybody waits for that photo op or whatever, and then they leave. And if you're not getting any award, you don't go. So it's not like Oscars, for instance. That's not like that. So it's a celebration of films. So things have changed a lot. So I don't think for the better, this aspect. But on the other aspect, the churning and the different kinds of films that we are making, Lapata Ladies, Crew, for instance, nobody would have believed that 3 girls can do this. No matter how impossible that sounds. But actually they did it, and we lapped it up. I mean, I loved it. It was fun.
Yeah.
The idea that women can do it. Like Piku, I mean, of course, that's already an old film. The idea that a woman can look after a father, nobody would have scoffed at it. And even when there was Mrinal Sen, etc., were making films about women who were going out to work, their money was appreciated, but they were not appreciated because you're a fallen woman if you're going out to work. And then working in films, when I joined films, was deeply frowned upon. And therefore the film industry also withdrew they had their own little club or own little social interactions, because they also stayed away from the society. It was very judgmental. They saw their films but didn't think. And especially, again, it was the women who were really, the actors were accepted. But women were not accepted because it was a profession, was not.
You didn't give yourself enough credit for being far ahead of your time even then, right? And of course, there's say working after getting married was something that very few actresses did till very recently. It was
But they felt that because the audience would, move away from them, because now that they're married, because a different kind of, and even I felt that, once upon a time I'll be whistled at, or, that kind of admiration. I remember going to Hyderabad with, no. So, yeah, when you get married, a different kind of respect comes. And then when you become a mother, then you've joined the collective, then you're part of. So I remember going to Hyderabad, and at that time, I don't know, the train went somewhere, and the car had to come from Hyderabad to collect me. So I got there about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I got down with my maid, etc. And within seconds, a crowd gathered. But usme se like, make space for her, take her to the waiting room, get her a chair. Does your son need the milk to be warmed? And it was a different kind of reception altogether. And when I was shooting for Arunet Din Ratri in Chipadahar, so we had come from Chipadahar and came to Ranchi, and we were mobbed because we were surrounded by thousands of people, and they wouldn't let us go. And somebody said, "Hum falana dimka ka ladka hai, train jala denge." They were sitting on the track. We were stuck there for 3 to 4 hours. And one poor Russian lady was locked up in the bathroom. And then finally they said, "Okay, Sharmila Tagore has to go there." So I went out to the other gate. They threw some mud at us or whatever they did, and then we were allowed to leave. So from there to there, and from now, so you can see the audience reacting to you differently. So that time, because I got married, then I got children, and now I'm old. So there is that perception.
But you'd actually broken a few molds in your time. I want to know the challenges of that.
Because I think I came from a very different kind of family. I was Jane Tagore's daughter in Kolkata. I knew who I was. So I had a kind of self-confidence, perhaps the right kind of confidence. And I didn't really much care about what others said about me, because I knew what I was doing. I was exactly the same then as I am now. I haven't changed very much. I've grown and I've become more exposed to wonderful things which have added to myself, who I am today. But my thinking or behavior wasn't any different. But because I lived alone in a hotel, I was not chaperoned, people had different ideas. So I became a social suspect, because everybody else belonged to Maharashtra, belonged to, they could accept them. Or they followed, they were chaperoned, they wore white, they didn't have alcohol openly or smoked openly. If they did, it would be in private. So I was different. So they couldn't work me out, let's put it that way. So I was perhaps a bad girl. But then once I settled with Tiger, the perception changed. So people have perceptions because of the society at that time. And if they don't understand somebody or something, they tend to judge it from their point of view. So you cannot really, there are many people out there with many different thoughts and expectations, and I'm alone here, one person. So if I can't please you and you and you and you and you, I can't, it's not possible. So why even go there? And if I know I'm doing something right, and I think my support and uh, affirmation came from my family and my friends. And as long as I had them, I didn't really, I wouldn't say I didn't care. I mean, of course, if somebody wrote badly about you, it hurt. I mean, we are all people with emotions, but my way of uh, dealing with it was not to read it. Because if you read something, it hurts. But if I don't read it and you are telling me that, oh, this was written about you, it's not so bad. So I wouldn't take film magazines or read about it. But here I am today.
No, but it's interesting you say this because now celebrities, of course, but also, a lot of young people, now everyone is open to criticism when you're on social media. We're all putting lives out there in a way
Yeah.
that it wasn't so in the past, till fairly recent past, actually. About
It was Shobha who started, no?
Yeah, well,
All that Asli Ghee and La
Yeah.
Tagore and Hinglish.
English.
Hinglish was
The-
her, half English and half
Yeah.
Hindi. So she started tongue-in-cheek kind of journalism.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, I was saying that now you're also, I mean, nowadays, legacy is the big word, in the Hindi film industry. You're actually, I mean, there's a longer legacy, but you've established at least a matrilineal in the Hindi film industry. There is the matrilineal legacy that starts with Sharmila Tagore in some ways. Uh, how do you say now, Sarah, your granddaughter is a well-known young actress, but she is doing this in this world now. She's breaking through, one, as a known person. Second, in a world where scrutiny, whether it is on for your body, for your work, for your personal life, for your action, and engaging with it as part of the business now. I mean, you have to be out there on the social media. How do you see, and then, both Saif and Soha, both your children as well, how do you see the nature of being a public facing actor changing, and what advice do you give them?
Actually, Sarah is the one who told me that, Bariama, this is, you can't ignore it. You don't have to engage with it totally, but you can't sort of rubbish it and can't, you know, can't say bad things about it. You have to. So I absolutely understand what you're saying. Can't give advice to anybody. Um, but I think you should be yourself, because the person who's interviewing me, or uh, sometimes you're in a hurry and sometimes, somebody just, and you're not prepared for that question, or you're probably having an argument with somebody, and they they take a picture and that becomes the headline. So it is a kind of intrusion to your privacy, but at the same time you have to accept it, that it's there. You have to be nice to them, and shouldn't make a face, because then it'll be photographed and you will suffer. And also, if you accept them, once you accept them and say that, listen, I'll fall if you do that, or um, I'm in a hurry, I think they accept. But maybe not from Sarah's age. So everybody has to deal with it, because there's no point wishing it away. So you have to understand the nature of the beast and deal with it, because you have no control over your environment as such, but you have control over yourself, and your option is what to do. And I think if you engage with it, the solution will come to you, that this is how you deal with it. And at the end of the day, behind that camera, there is a human being. So he's not really out, he's not your enemy as such, but he has a job to do, and you have a job to do. And how you maintain your privacy, you don't have to really quote them and speak in excess. You have to be careful what you say, how you look. I think that comes with the package. If you are going to be a public figure, then you have to know how to act in public and what to say in public. When I say public, but out there on social media, because everybody doesn't, and people are looking out for sensation. It's a thrill. If somebody is just doing the same right thing, that's not news. But if somebody is doing something that is not quite so right, then that's news. So I guess you just have to learn how to live with it.
In filmmaking now, one part of it, there is, one gets the sense sometimes that is there now, both commercially and in terms of sensitivities, that people are more, do you think that cinema today is more scared, to be honest, than it used to? Because of, one, social media means that any film is open to criticism by anyone. Earlier it would be a paper.
Yeah, yeah.
But now you've almost digitized, you can call it the mob, you can call it the critic, you can, depending on how they're acting. Do you think that affects actors, directors, writers as they're going in towards trying to make a film? Because filmmaking is
Well, as you know
expensive.
that I was also chairing
Yes.
CBFC for 7 years. So I found that a lot of, uh, I can understand that because if you've made a film and you have done it the way you wanted to, you don't want anyone to mess with it. You don't want, but I feel if you take a overall view, a little away from, if you step back and look at things, I think you can look at it a little bit more clearly. And if you feel that this is not going to gel with audience in general, and this is going to create a problem, your film will get stalled. Your film will be, somebody will cause disruption in the theater. What is the point? What is the point by sticking on to that one thing? Yes, if it's ideologically, the whole thing will be offensive to people. So perhaps you should think, because after all, the business of filmmaking is expensive. And a lot of people's lives depend on it, career depend on it. So if the audience is going to be upset, or say 10% of the audience, why risk it? I feel. It's not like writing a book. I can say what I want and I will personally be damaged. But here you're taking a team, it's like an engine that, I personally feel, I mean, I don't know whether you'll say that I'm prone to compromise, but I think life is a bit, navigating the middle path, so to speak. A lot of my um, activist friends and a lot of my uh, film friends they said, what do you mean by middle path? It's either here or there, like in this Man for All Seasons, that he says that if you're holding water in your hand, like this, and if you say, I'll make a little compromise, the water will flow out, which is true. But I think living a life is not very easy these days. So I think you have to bring all your experience to it and think in a way that would uh, serve you and serve others. I have a feeling. So I think, and you can still say lots of things. You can still say what you want to say. You can still make a very good film. So don't have to do it the harsh way where things will come back and hit you, and I don't think there is any need. I mean, you can make excellent films also. I feel, I might be wrong.
Do you think one of the criticisms of the CBFC and the architecture that behind it is that rather than a certification agency, and that's one of the things that Indian films
Yeah.
maybe suffer from, is that instead of getting a rating, everywhere in the world, films get a rating. R rating in America means
Yes.
adults only,
Yes.
sex violence,
Or
everything.
you say that even if it's on television, parental
Parental
guidance is required.
guidance and this and that. And so, but so there's certification, and you can have warnings, say, imposed, like we've had now for tobacco. Some filmmakers have
Yeah.
had problems. Say Woody Allen doesn't release his films in Indian theaters because of the tobacco warning, for example. But even if you grant that, do you think especially because India is I mean, politics can change, times can change. Is that the the asking for cuts for many, that is the bridge too far. They can say, okay, you want to put a warning, that's fine. You want to put a label, you say no kids, no one under 18, no one under 21. Do you think that's
There
the
are
balance?
many factors. The uh, when the film gets certified, the posters are made earlier. I've forgotten now what exactly, but when I was hands-on, I could have answered it better. but one is a poster thing that they don't write the A or UA and, all that, U. So that, and there is no other rating except for universal and adult and UA. The UA is the only where everybody wants to get in. Um, it's a tricky question. So ideally, we should be just a certification. I think when I was there, it more or less was certain. Very few things were uh, cut, except something that we really felt would harm the producers or affect actually for their sake. Um, I don't think there was too much of interference from CBFC at that point. There was more, the more liberal we became, the more difficult the audience became. So the protests were from groups representing the audience, like this Dan Brown's whatever. So the Pope didn't object. It was released in Vatican and around Rome, etc. But here there was a huge problem, and all the cities, some cities with one particular government banned it. I mean, and also the law and order situation comes under state. So even if we give it a clear thing, in the state government, if there is somebody throws a stone or something, then there'll be problem. So people found their way. There was a lot of Jodha Akbar. There was one case in Jaipur, one case in Kolkata, one case, the producer was running from pillar to post, right? So if there is one particular court is dealing with all these problems, it's so much easier. So I wanted to be a bridge between the civil society and the government, because CBFC is an arm of Information Broadcasting Ministry, and the government and the audience, the civil society. And one section of the civil society wanted to do away with censorship altogether, and one section wanted to be more strict. But as a psychiatric friend of mine said, that when a child is growing up and playing around, if that child is crawling towards the edge, won't you say, no, don't do that? Don't do that. We are always trying to find a consensus. So you have to bring all those things into when you're viewing a film. And when you're sitting, I mean, the articulation of, expression is guaranteed. Freedom of expression, freedom of speech is guaranteed by a constitution. But there is that little clause that if this law and order situation comes, then so you have to walk that bridge. It only comes from media experience, and it's something that you can't quite put it in words, that what will upset somebody and what won't. So you have to go for that. So at least that's what I wanted to bring during my tenure. Yeah.
From that very serious note, my last question before Charulata comes and has some fun with the archive. In Outhouse, you have wonderful chemistry with the young man who's playing your grandson.
Yes.
Did you draw at all from Temur on that, the most famous and well-liked baby of India, now toddler?
Not on his first day, though. First day was hugely, and then the same person became so popular. And then I was asking, I thought he was in a children category popular. Then no, this is like the most popular of every category. But no, Temur is a very quiet person and very reserved and all. And Jay, of course, is all over the place and lovely. So they're very different temperamentally. But a child actor he's wonderful, this guy who's acted. And working with a child and working with an animal is and then and Dr. Mohan Agashe was so much better with the dog, Pablo or Sugar. and he was not cooperating with me at all. So we had a little problem there. But working with this boy was wonderful. He's a very good actor. Very good actor. You just had to tell him once and he got it right. And, uh, and of course, I'm very fond of children. I do have lots and lots of, friends, grandchildren, children, because I have a lot of young friends. So I think they're wonderful. And just watching them is fun because they want to say something, but they go about it in such a circle, and then so it's have to really listen to them. So I've learned when Saif was growing up, I realized that he was trying to tell me something, and I had interrupted, thinking I understood what he was saying, and the conversation had gone off at a tangent. So you have to really pay attention because they don't say directly what they want to say. They say it in a very roundabout way. So you have to pay a lot of attention and listen. And you can't give them instant replies. Like if they want a solution to their problem, I think you'll have to ask them why and engage them in the conversation to get to the truth, get to the bottom of what they're really asking. If you give a straightforward yes, no answer, then the conversation stops there. So I think I've spent a lot of time with children and also with UNICEF. When I worked as their ambassador, I interacted with lots of HIV, AIDS, young children, and also in maternal health side I met. So I think I've interacted with a lot of children to understand them. So I didn't really need Taimur only, but working with him was wonderful because he's a very good actor, and I hope after this film, he does well,
I'm going to have Charulata come over now and take over and have a little more fun.
Thank you.
Okay, can I get a shout out for Sharmila ji? Woo! Sharmila ji, you're looking stunning.
Oh, thank
You're
you.
slaying, actually. Am I right? Isn't she? Yeah.
If you give them that kind of a question, they can't say no.
But I actually wore a sari thinking that...
That I will be wearing a sari.
Yes.
I've
And
got
also
a knee
that you will
problem,
be...
so I can't wear heels, and I can't wear sari without heels.
Oh, is
so
it?
I'm giving,
All right, not a problem. I'm compensating for you, ma'am, here. Okay, so moving on to a fun game, and I would like to call it Blast from the Past.
Okay.
And Sharmila ji, the game is really simple. We are going to show you a couple of pictures on that screen.
Okay.
And all of you, audience over there, you will be seeing those pictures over here. And you have to recognize them and tell us the stories behind those pictures.
if I can, yes.
Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you all ready for it? Yeah? Can I feel some energy? Yeah? All right, all right. So can I get the first picture? Ooh.
So what I have to say, where
That's
and
really
what?
interesting. I actually love that pose. Were you...
Kashmir Ki Kali, yes.
Okay, tell
And
us more
it
about
was
it.
in Chopin.
Oh,
Yes,
all
it was in
right.
Chopin.
Okay, and what was happening over there? Do you remember?
It was Shamiji wearing a Pashtu outfit,
Yeah.
looking rather glamorous and dancing away. And I was trying to keep up with him. And Kashmir Ki Kali had 10 songs?
Is
10
it?
songs. 10 songs.
10 songs.
10 or 8 definitely.
All right.
And one better than the other. Isharo Isharo Mein and Diwana Hua Badal. Terrific songs. So this was one, and so
But
I
you said
was
you were trying
quite
to-
nervous about dancing. So I had a few rehearsals.
Right.
I was, of course, Shamiji was 200 times better than I, but I was trying to keep up with him.
Yeah, you there with all your grace and Shamiji with all his energy.
Yeah, but this is a lovely photograph.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Was it really hard to work with him? Since you said
He
that...
was a very unpredictable actor. You know, he'll do something in the rehearsal, if he did rehearsal at all, and then he would it was supposed he was to come from this side, he would come from the other side. And for a newcomer, it was slightly difficult.
This was your
But
debut, right?
this was my first film
Yes.
in Bombay. But it was fun. I mean, he had a lot of energy, and it was a brand of his own. I mean, he was completely different. And he was doing those things then, in 64, what Shah Rukh, etc., were doing, or much later, you know. All
Like
these
what?
breaking into dancing,
Yes.
or breaking into sort of spontaneous
Okay.
madness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any actor in today's generation who would probably pass off as Shami Kapoor?
I think today's actors are so versatile, they can pass off as, wonderful actor, I mean, wonderful, emotionally invested actors and doing other stuff also. I think you have to do everything. I think they're all very good. But Shamiji is unique, I would say, absolutely unique. I think he's, like, they've done on social media, I saw Alia Bhatt and Ranveer doing something. Alia was probably better, or at least like me, but Ranveer was nowhere near Shami Kapoor. Absolutely not.
Ouch. Ranveer, are you listening?
Yeah.
All right. Can we move to the next picture? Is that Chupke Chupke?
That's Amitabh Bachchan, isn't it?
Yes.
That's not Chupke Chupke. No.
Do you remember?
Probably a very unforgettable film.
Besharam.
Yeah. Devin Verma is there. So Devin Verma directed that film. Everybody goes through that stage where they feel that everybody can be a director. Devin was a very, very good friend of mine. I just
Okay.
got along with him so well. And we had a lot of fun shooting this film. And
What
I
is
was
he telling
expecting
you? I
Sabha.
wonder, you were listening to him intently.
Yes, he was giving us some gyan, I'm sure.
All right. How was it working with Amitabh Bachchan, the big B?
Wonderful, wonderful. He was, after Shashi Kapoor, he was the only actor who came on time. I mean, nobody else came on time. So, yes. And there was a film called Dostana, where there was Zeenat Aman, Shatrughan Sinha, and Mr. Bachchan. So, and we used to keep those laborers' hours those days. Like 7 to 2, we were working in one film, and 2 to 10, we were working in another film. So, the money wasn't in place that it is now. It was not such an organized, like now they work in one film, then there is a break, then they go on to another film. So if I was playing a glamorous role with long nails, and then I was playing somebody who shouldn't have those nails. So from 7 to 2, 2 to 10, I couldn't do very much. So there was a lot of compromise. So anyway, in Dostana, and Shatrughan Sinha was known for being late. At his own wedding, he was late. So, and when he was a parliamentarian, he was late. He's just biologically not capable of being on time. So that 7 to 2 shift, 2 o'clock, Mr. Bachchan's car would go out and Shatrughan's car will enter. So you can imagine Raj Khosla lost all his hair in making of Dostana. And you won't find 3 of them in one frame. Poor Zeenat, of course, was there from whatever time to whatever time, adjusting to these two. So everybody's got separate shots. There's a back to camera with a what do you call it, duplicate, and shot like that, the film.
Wow.
Poor Rajji, yes.
That is
So
something
Shatru used to do
excruciating.
that for fun. I mean, I don't know. He was not really a tormentor. He was a wonderful person.
Oh,
But-
all right.
He didn't have the genes. He couldn't be on time. It was a problem.
All right. Next picture, please.
Oh yes, this was Amar Prem,
Yeah.
and the army had a screening for us, and I think it was basically to cheer up the army because the next day was blackout.
Yes.
and we went to war with Pakistan. And I remember Amjad was playing, and we went to hear him, and hardly anybody was there. It was such fun because he just played for us, so to speak. So it was in Delhi, and they gave us lovely little trophies. Army. It was a wonderful screening by the army.
That's amazing. That's Sam Monik Shaw next to you. Yeah. Next picture, please.
With Mohan.
Yes.
Why am I being so nice to him?
I wonder because I thought this was your first film with him, but I guess
No.
there's also.
I've done Mississippi Masala with him. That was
Okay.
in 1988. Yeah.
But here you guys are greeting each other, being
I
really
can't,
sweet.
because he's such a close friend. So it was probably a posed picture. I really don't know. Where was it? Oh, I think when he got this award. Yes, the
Okay.
Pune's highest award.
Okay.
So that's why he's dressed up and is wearing that. Yes. So
Headgear.
Anupam Kher and I was there as a special, to congratulate him. And he spoke very well. And he's, it's their reward, and they do it very well. Everybody comes, and whoever's received it before, and
Right.
all the who's who of Pune turns up. And of course, Mohan is so respected. And
Absolutely. Do you
Loved.
remember your first meeting with him?
I think when he was doing Sadgati with Shotajit Ray,
Shotajit Ray, yeah.
I think around that time when he was shooting, I met him. I can't really remember, but I've known him for years and years and years and years. And he's
Okay.
a dear, dear friend.
Awesome. Next picture.
I was wondering, why am I being so polite?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Devi.
Yeah.
And,
One of my favorite films.
Yes, and this was a very difficult scene at the end when she loses her mind. And she's just a child, really. And Shaumitra's expression is so beautiful. And so, his internal sorrow at the tragedy.
Yeah.
Like she is completely unknowing, and he has understood and followed her untangling, so to speak. Yeah, it's a beautiful film, and I think probably my best performance. But I worked in a Bengali film. I would consider that as my best performance, which is going to release next year
Okay.
with Rituparna Sengupta.
Okay.
That's also about aging and about onset of dementia. So that, the ease of your language and speaking Bengali, that has
Right.
come out very well. I'm very, very proud and very happy about that.
Okay.
But this is such a, look, Shaumitra's face is looking,
Absolutely.
It's-
And you were incredible in that role. And
yeah,
correct me if
I
I'm
was
wrong,
just
but
14, yes.
yeah, Devi happened immediately after Opo
Opo
Shanshan,
Shanshan.
right?
Yes.
So, Shotajit Ray, what kind of impact did he have on you as an actor, as a woman that you are? Because he really,
He started the Film Society movement in Kolkata.
yeah,
So that was he, Chidananda Das Gupta, they all started together. So we had the opportunity of seeing so many world cinema, of course, and The Trial of Joan of Arc, all these silent films and beautiful films. So it was quite vibrant, the discussions and the knowledge of films. So he really taught me how to look at cinema, what is the medium of cinema, because he could have done many things. He was so gifted. He could write, he could paint, he could write music, he could play the piano. He could have done many things because he was so gifted. Illustrator he was in working for Clarion. But he felt that not much work has been done on cinema. And he wanted to leave his impact in that world, in that medium. So that's why he chose films. So his discussions, and he was not a garrulous person. He didn't speak too much, and the age difference uh, was so much. Like I really was a little tongue-tied in front of him, and like Shomitra was more. Would ask him questions. I didn't really ask him questions, but even by osmosis, just being around him, and he had a wonderful sense of humor. He knew so much. So, and he believed in his work. He didn't put commerce before his art.
Right.
And if he had money, he would buy music or books. So he loved films, and all he wanted was to make films.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Next picture, please. Oh,
Where is this, at Polo?
do you remember what was happening over there?
I don't know, I can't see. What is it? What is
Here,
that
can
thing?
you-
No,
here.
I mean, I'm not.
You can also turn around and take a look.
Who's here? That's Shashi.
Yes.
During work? Huh?
This
don't know.
is the picture from our archives.
Ah.
Do you remember where is it from?
That's what I'm trying to think. There's a tent. Was it with Sunil Dutt or something, raising
Yes,
funds?
yes,
Because
yes.
he would, this Ajanta Arts,
Yes.
and suddenly we didn't even have telephone those days. I'd get a message that Datsab wants you for a meeting, and we would all go because he was so well respected. Then he'll say that we are raising money for that flood or that whatever, some natural calamity, and Prime Minister's Fund and Chief Minister's Fund. And so we'd all go and help. So there was so much togetherness in the industry.
Yeah.
Rajji, Yusuf Saab, Dilip Kumar, and that Saab. Whatever they asked, we did. For the cine workers' welfare, raising funds for them, or all these do-gooding works. And we just did that. I mean,
Absolutely.
the
But you
fraternity,
really had-
the industry was together, and we had these leaders, and we listened to them. Now, of
right.
course, everybody is on their own.
All right. Next picture, please.
This was at my wedding, and Dharamveera was.
You look demure.
Dharamveera was.
And
our
how did you guys
governor.
meet is something I think
No,
everyone
that's a story
wants.
for my book. I'm not going to share everything for Indian Express.
But tell me something, really, looking at this picture and the things that we know about you and Tiger Sir, nowadays people actually date, they would swipe right, left, there are different relationship status, situationship, and breadcrumbing, etc., etc., etc. How did it work out with you guys?
Same.
Same.
Yeah. Exactly.
You were in a
that.
situationship. Did he ever ghost you? Were you
All these
ghosted?
new words I'm learning. Skibidi apparently is the new word. But the moment you say that, the young people immediately change. The moment you say Riz, like we start using Riz, then they move on to something else. So
Was there a
because-
phase when he stopped talking to you and you were restless, or maybe perhaps you sort of did the same, or
I'm sure we had some. I can't remember. Memory being retentive, only you remember the good things and not the bad things. But yeah. But I don't think we had huge rows or anything. No.
Yeah.
It was long distance anyway. There was so much traveling. He was playing cricket. I was working. So we didn't want to waste time, arguing with each other. So, but otherwise it's the same. You meet, you fall in love, and spend time with each other, and live with each other, and then
be patient, try to spend a lot of time with
I
each
don't
other?
think you
How?
want to be patient.
Yeah.
You don't want to do anything, you just live the moment, and it turns out whatever it is.
Yeah.
All those patience and all that comes much later. That time you're just living, and things
Okay.
either work out or if they won't work out. I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
But
But the
we were
moment-
always away because those days the cricket matches used to take so long. And of course, they didn't play as often as they do now. But if you went to Australia, you went away forever because you went to Australia, played 5 matches, then you went to New Zealand and you played. Then coming back, you stopped in Singapore, and then you came back finally. And then there was no mobile. The telephone calls used to go via London.
Okay.
If you booked a lightning call, it wasn't lightning. It would come after 2 hours in middle of the night. And if you didn't have a phone, so it was difficult keeping in touch. A telegram would be the only thing. Letters took forever. Even now they take forever. So the meeting was, so we found time for each other.
That's great. How did you guys
And I'm falling
kept
asleep.
going?
I'm asking so much. My jaw is hurting. Yeah. Okay, now
Okay,
last two.
we'll move to the
Okay,
next
one more
picture,
picture,
please.
but I'm enjoying
Yeah.
the pictures.
Oh yes, we'll have another picture.
Just one.
Okay.
Oh, this is so nice. This has been doing the rounds, no? Somebody sent me this.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Tell me
This
about.
was in Delhi.
Yeah.
This was in Delhi. I think in Dupleix Road. I can't recognize when we lived there. My mother-in-law lived there for a while, and then we came to stay with her because when she started keeping very indifferent health. And Seth was in Senar. The girls went to the British school here because I wanted them to go to Parthasarathi's school. But they didn't have Hindi. Till class 6 they had Hindi, and they were saying cupboard mein kapda keep karo. So they couldn't have managed. So British school was the only other option because modern school had 35 children. And I mean, it was a very big school. So British school had 16 children in a class, and so I opted for that.
All right. All right.
Okay, I'm
So-
falling way tired now.
All right, so we'll put a stop to that game now, but the fun is on. We'll have questions from the audience,
Okay.
ma'am, and we will pick some of them. So, all of you, whoever wants to ask question, please stand up wherever you are sitting and introduce yourselves and ask your question. So we'll start from here.
Hi, good evening. First of all, thanks to Screen from bringing Sharmila ji here on the stage. And just wanted to say one more thing about Screen. When we were in college, we used to look after Screen कि कौन से picture आने वाली है, उसके posters क्या हैं. Today, this is where the younger generation will never understand that thing. But those were the times so much of curiosity was there.
We
And
used to-
Sharmila
we
ji,
used to queue up.
Yeah.
When the only way they could see stars were at premiere, so they used to book tickets in advance, which nobody does anymore, and they stood in queues
Yes.
to get a glimpse of the.
I
actor.
remember Amar Prem premiere, you and Rajesh Khanna came to Paradise in Calcutta, and the queue was like thousands of people were there.
Yes, absolutely.
One question to you.
So can you introduce yourself, please?
Sanjeev Sharma. Sharmila ji, you have done such a range of movies, right from Hopur Shangshar to Nayok to Devi to Evening in Paris to Mausam. It's amazing range of roles. But you think anybody in the current generation will come anywhere near to do that kind of roles?
I'm sure there are such wonderful actors now. Really, really. I mean, they come. We probably entered the films very early, many, but now they are so full of confidence and talent. And I'm absolutely sure if they're given the opportunity, if films are made like that, if they're given that opportunity, I'm sure there is so much talent out there today, Earlier, because of the reputation, like I said, people wasn't looking forward to, it wasn't a career option for the longest time. But now, I mean, the parents have to hold them back. They all want to join films. They give up Stanford and things and come to work in films. But no, seriously, there's a lot of talent there. I've no doubt. if they're given the opportunity, most certainly they will.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a question at the back.
Hello, ma'am. This is Rohan Naranja. Ma'am, like 5 minutes ago, I got to know that you have worked with Satyajit Ray in 5 of his films. So, ma'am, what kind of aura he had, what kind of ambience he carried, like
What he carried?
what his aura?
Aura, yes.
Yeah, like you have worked with him in 5 of his
films,
films. So, anything? What about him?
I mean, he was a very tall person, and he had a very booming voice, a very baritone kind of voice, and he commanded, just by his physical body, he commanded uh, attention and respect because he was not man of few words. Um, and then, of course, what he said made a lot of sense, and he was so devoted to filmmaking, and he was an authority or in full control of all the aspects of filmmaking. It's not like theater. It's not just performances and in a limited, although now there's a lot of experiment going with theaters also. But there's post-production, there's editing, there is photography, all that. He knew the lights because he was a kind of painter. He saw things in frames. So he had, and in fact, after Charulata, he went solo. He was doing, Shubhrata Mitra was his DOP, and Bangshi Chandragupta was his art director, and the three of them made wonderful films. In Nayok, the backdrop, the train was created by Bangshi Chandragupta. You cannot really tell the difference. And while from my point of view, the train is going like this, and from Uttam's point of view, it's going like, the back projection was flawless. Shubhrata kind of hung out of the compartments and took these shots as and you can't really tell those black and white films at that time. And with a very small budget and a very kind of studio that he had, the kind of facility that he had, lights, lens, camera, etc. The floor of the studio was full of potholes, making a trolley shot impossible, to make it work smoothly. So despite that, he won awards, and he was contemporary of Kurosawa, of Bergman, and with their unlimited budget. And he produced films, and those films have had such a long shelf life, global shelf life. So he was the first filmmaker that was recognized outside of India. A lot of Indians saw only the poverty of, but not the brilliance of the film.
Even Martin Scorsese is inspired by him.
Yes, of course, he helped restoring the films. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We'll have another question. Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Sandhya. I'm from Lady C. Ram College for Women, and my father is very huge fan of you. And yesterday I asked about you, and he told me very wonderful things about you. And yesterday I think I will definitely go and meet you. And my question is, what message do you want to give us from this movie, like young generation like us?
Outhouse?
So
Outhouse? You're talking about this film?
Yeah.
Outhouse.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any messages as such, but it is talking about elderly people, that they're not really helpless, and they're not really, of course, they need young people around them, but to treat them with more empathy and more, don't think of them as their, like the relationship between my grandson and I. Like the grandson appreciates me, and they need somebody like me, and I need somebody like them, because we are also kind of, it's a need to be with each other, or not a need, I don't know what to say. But, we are alone, but we are not really looking for to be told what to do and what not to do, and take your medicine on time and sleep on time, and or don't go there, and you won't be able to manage, and you're tiring yourself. I mean, we know how to look after ourselves. We don't really need sermons, but we want companionship and support us, most certainly. But don't try to control us, and don't try to, out of love. But um, I mean, we have also seen the world and we know what we want. So it's that kind of give and take we want. We just don't want just looking after and being controlled. I think that also is trying to say that. And it's a great fun. It's a very sweet film. You know, now there are so many violent films and complicated relationships. These are all very simple to understand. There's a dog, there's a child, and then two elderly people from different class altogether. And how I'm a very bad storyteller. Don't ever ask me to tell a story. Dr. Agashe should have been there. You know, he's a psychiatrist and a professor. He would have given you a lot of better insight. Please see the film, and it'll better than my ruining it for you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
All right. In the movie, actually, you have a really good like equation with the grandson, right? Do you have any memories with?
Like when he asks me, what is divorce?
Yeah.
So I tell him that you think of it as a report card.
Exactly.
You know, when there are more crosses, that means you have a problem. You know, so the way she actually engages him, instead of telling him, don't do this, don't do that, go to bed on time, have you done your homework, but how she motivates him to do all those things in a different way, which he responds to. It's not that she's not a disciplinarian, she's doing all that, but in a way that he understands. So it's not about exerting control, but saying it in a way that it's
In a guided.
yes,
manner, yeah.
more guidance and more advice, as opposed to that do this because I told you to do it. You know, more negotiation. Yeah.
Right. All right. One more question from there.
Hi, Sharmila ji. I'm a third year film student, and you know, as an actor and as a person yourself, you must carry a politics of your own.
You
So-
must carry
A political opinion of your own.
political opinion. Yeah.
And you worked with Satyajit Ray and multiple directors. Does your own opinion come off in the roles you play? Or do you choose scripts in such a manner that they work with like you as a person?
But the last few films that I have done has reflected. I mean, I've liked the character. So, yes, like Puratan, the Bengali film I was talking about, Gulmohar, Outhouse, is something that I'm in. It's yes, but earlier films, you know, some films I did for money, some people I did to help out a friend. So it was not always, but I tried to bring myself or my, as you say, not political opinion, but the way I look at life, a bit of that. And we tried, you know, but over time, most certainly, I now align myself to who I am really. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. And that's a wrap up on Screen Live, the
I
first
think the
edition in
gentleman
Delhi.
blue turban wanted to ask.
Okay, you want to take that question?
I don't
Yeah?
know. He raised his hand.
Can we take one more question? All right.
There's a last quick question, Sharmila ji. I've seen most of your films, and of course, you brilliantly handled huge spectrum of diversity of emotion and themes. And but in your opinion, well, of course, one has seen Amar Prem and Aradhana, and a little serious one, and then Satyakam was totally offbeat movie. But in your entire career, which one, in your opinion, has been the most challenging and demanding in terms of characterization and the role, and why?
Most challenging may have been Mausam, that first scene of smoking bidi and, all that. That was quite a not me kind of scene. But my favorite film now, it keeps changing. I used to say Safar, where she is blamed for something which she hasn't done. And she doesn't accept that. She doesn't, she has agency. She doesn't accept that you are a victim. And she carries herself with a different kind of sensibility. And same in Mausam, although she's a sex worker, but she has a sense of self and she doesn't accept what the society is dubbing her as. So I like that. But my favorite film is Namkeen. Namkeen, I think, has a much more matured and controlled performance, and subsequent films. I can see myself getting in better and being more at ease with the medium, because we didn't get any actual training really. We started and with different directors and working over time, things got better for us. So my last performance, I feel, is much better than earlier on. But I think one should be kind to myself, and I think I've not done too badly. Yeah.
Yes, we all agree. And on that note, Sharmila ji, thank you
you.
so much for
Thank
being
you.
here
I'm ready
with
for
us.
bed
It was
now.
an honor and privilege. And thank you so much, everyone.
I
It's a
think
wrap
talking
on
is
the
the
first
most
edition.
tiring thing, don't you think? Talking and listening, perhaps also. When you're listening to somebody talking incessantly, I think it's very tiring.
Well, we all enjoy listening to you, Sharmila.
Thank you,
ma'am.
BP.
Yeah.